At the turn of the 20th century, if you were born different, your options were brutal. Some joined freak shows just to survive. Others were shoved into the spotlight whether they wanted it or not. When Ringling Brothers launched in 1884, they knew exactly what sold, and they leaned in hard. Their freak show became the main draw, packed with names the public couldn't stop whispering about. Barnum and Bailey did the same, and by 1919, the two giants merged into one. In this video, we're going to look at some of the most extreme circus freaks that actually existed. Number 15, the ossified man. The ossified man was a staple sideshow attraction, sold as someone slowly turning into stone. In reality, most suffered from rare diseases like myositis, ossificans progressiva, where muscles and connective tissues literally calcify over time. Others had conditions like ankylosis or cerebral palsy. But none of that mattered to promoters. They'd slap on fake medical terms like polyarthritis deformans and tell crowds this was a living statue. Jonathan R. Bass was one of the most famous, but there were others: Dolly Reagan, Frank Woods, Charlie Porter, and Emma Schaller. Many of them couldn't move, stuck in chairs, beds, or stretchers, while people paid to gawk. In a few cases, they didn't even use real people. Some sideshows displayed mechanical figures, automata, posing as ossified humans. It didn't need to be true. It just had to look strange enough. What began as a rare and painful disorder became a crowd puller, built on discomfort and spectacle. The reality was medical, and the pitch was freak show gold. Number 14, Radhika and Dudika Nayak. These conjoined twins from Odisha, which is in India, were born in 1888 and toured Europe and the US as the Orissa twins. They were first displayed in London in 1892 and then joined the infamous Barnum and Bailey Circus, appearing at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Medical journals noted their fusion from the chest to the navel, but described them as healthy and bright, speaking multiple languages, and reportedly cared for by a Scottish governess. After nearly a decade of touring, Dudika developed tuberculosis. In 1902, famed French surgeon Eugène Doyen performed a filmed separation surgery in Paris, hoping to save Radhika. Dudika died shortly after from peritonitis. Radhika recovered and wasn't told of her sister's death. She was baptized as Marie Marguerite and learned needlework, but died of tuberculosis the following year. The surgery film later circulated in theaters, sparking public outrage. Their short lives were turned into a medical and sideshow spectacle, but their bond lasted until the very end. Number 13, Princess Wee Wee. Princess Wee Wee, born Harriet Elizabeth Thompson, was an African-American performer with dwarfism whose career spanned 4 decades. She started in the 1900s as a sideshow act, billed with names like the Animated Chocolate Eclair and the Smallest Living Woman. By 1911, she was traveling with the Ringling Brothers and later joined the Whitman sisters' vaudeville troupe. But unlike most sideshow performers, Wee Wee wasn't just a curiosity. She had real talent. Under the guidance of band leader James Wolfscale, she became a skilled tap dancer and singer. She performed for 2 U.S. presidents and toured internationally. Her size was always part of the act, but she moved beyond freak show billing. By the 1930s, she was headlining black vaudeville shows and entertaining audiences at the Apollo. She married twice, but one ended in annulment after her husband tried pulling her from the stage. In a world built to exploit, Princess Wee Wee pushed back. Not just seen, she performed, earned, and endured. Number 12, Josephine Joseph. Josephine Joseph was billed as half woman, half man. a sideshow performer who claimed to be a true hermaphrodite. One half of her body was presented as female, the other as male. She wore a split costume, tanned and exercised only one side, and manipulated her appearance to make the illusion work. Whether she was genuinely intersex or just an expert at gender illusion is still debated. She was married to George Wass, her manager, who promoted the act across Europe and America. In 1930, they were prosecuted in the UK for fraud over her act. Wass pled guilty and paid a fine. Josephine was acquitted but never medically examined. The press covered her physical symmetry in detail, but it was her control of the illusion that made her famous. She also appeared in the 1932 cult film Freaks, where she uttered the iconic line, "We accept her, one of us." That role preserved her name, but it was her act that built it. Number 11. Johnny Strange. Johnny Strange is a modern-day sideshow performer with Guinness World Records and steel through his ears. He was born in Lancashire in 1988 and started as an escapologist, but later built a full freak show career, sword-swallowing, fire-breathing, whip tricks, and lifting cars with his ear piercings. He holds multiple world records, including most swords swallowed in 3 minutes, most newspapers split with a whip, and he once pulled a Cessna airplane using only his ears. In 2014, he became the first person to swallow a sword inside the globe of death, while a motorcycle spun around him at 40 miles per hour. He's also a producer, author, and founder of Johnny Strange's Theater of Wonder, which revives traditional freak shows with performers from all over the world. He's appeared on 8 out of 10 Cats, CBBC, Guinness World Records Live, and even swallowed swords for KSI on Sidemen's Got Talent. Strange turned pain, precision, and physical endurance into an unmatched performance career. He is a modern-day fakir. Number 10. Johnny Fox. Johnny Fox wasn't born into sideshow life. He built his act from the ground up, literally. After getting inspired by a magician and a book on Houdini, he started out with comedy and sleight of hand. But once another performer stole his routine, he pivoted to sword swallowing, a skill nobody could copy easily. He spent 8 painful months mastering it and eventually could swallow up to 22 inches of steel. That alone would have been enough, but Fox added neon tubes, giant screwdrivers, and even swallowed light bulbs. He appeared on David Letterman, performed at the Maryland Renaissance Festival for over 35 years, and opened his own oddities museum, the Freakatorium, in New York. His collection included everything from two-headed turtles to General Tom Thumb's vest. Fox was also a consultant for younger performers and sideshow acts. Diagnosed with liver cancer in 2016, he kept performing through pain and setbacks. He wasn't just part of sideshow history, he preserved it, lived it, and passed it on. Number 9. Stor Stina. Kristina Katarina Larsdottir, known as Stor Stina or the Lapland Giantess, stood over 7 feet tall. Born in 1819 in Brennus, she was Sami and likely suffered from gigantism. Her height kept increasing until her death. By her final year, she reached 7 feet and 2 inches. In 1837, she began touring across Europe under the title The Tallest Woman in the World, drawing crowds in Sweden, Great Britain, Denmark, France, and Russia. She didn't perform stunts. Her height alone was the act. She eventually returned home, where she died from gangrene in 1854 at the age of 35. Stor Stina was later fictionalized in multiple works, including novels by Åke Lundgren and Mattias Hagberg, and a 2024 graphic novel by Mats Jonsson. She wasn't a magician or a trick act, just a woman born with a rare condition in a time when people like her were put on stage. Her legacy remains part folklore, part medical history, and all 100% real. Number 8. Riley Shilatse. Riley didn't follow a blueprint. She carved her own. Born in Rochester, New York, she was drawn to sword swallowing after seeing a relative do bizarre stunts. By her teens, she was already swallowing objects: glow sticks, drumsticks, even licorice. Eventually, she transitioned to swords. She was one of fewer than 20 professional female sword swallowers in the world. Her parents, despite hoping she'd become a singer, supported her, sometimes even holding the swords while she trained. Riley eventually made it to America's Got Talent, worked with Ripley's Believe It or Not, and joined the Sword Swallowers Association International. But she didn't stop there. Her act included fire breathing, human pin cushion routines, and lying on a bed of nails. She called her set Odd Girl. She also earned degrees in health science and sociology and worked day jobs when not performing. While others treated the sword as a gimmick, Riley treated it as a craft and proved her pain tolerance wasn't just physical, it was personal. Number 7. Francis Joseph Flynn. Francis, aka General Might, was born in 1864 in Greene, New York. He stood just 21 inches tall by age 16 and became an international showman during the golden era of freak exhibitions. In 1884, he married English performer Millie Edwards, also a dwarf, and the wedding was heavily publicized. Together, they toured under names like the Royal American Midgets and General and Mrs. Might. The couple performed across Europe, the United States, and Australia, often promoted as living dolls or miniature royalty. In 1890, they settled in Australia, where Flynn's health began to decline. He died in Broken Hill, New South Wales in 1898, just one day before his 34th birthday. Though his size defined how the public viewed him, Flynn carved out a place in a world that rarely made space for difference. He wasn't a novelty act. He was a working performer, a husband, and one of the most recognizable sideshow figures of his time. Number 6. Lucia Zarate. Lucia holds the record as the lightest adult ever documented. She was diagnosed with a form of primordial dwarfism, Majewski osteodysplastic type 2, and at her peak weighed just 14 pounds. At age 12, she moved to the U.S. and joined sideshows under acts like the Fairy Sisters, and later with Francis Flynn as a performing duo. She measured about 20 inches tall and reportedly reached full growth by age 1. Despite her condition, she was healthy and multilingual, able to speak both Spanish and some English. Medical professionals examined her in London and documented her proportions in scientific journals. In 1890, while traveling with a circus through the Sierra Nevada, her train was stranded in a snowstorm. Trapped in freezing temperatures, Lucia died of hypothermia at just 26. Her body was small, but her fame was global. What made her unique also made her vulnerable, and in the end, sideshow fame offered no protection. Number 5. The Oklahoma Mannequin Mummy. Elmer McCurdy was a failed outlaw, but after death, he became a freak show legend. In 1911, after a botched train robbery, McCurdy was shot and killed. No one claimed the body. So, the Oklahoma funeral home embalmed him, stood him upright, and charged people to look. Years passed. A carnival promoter, posing as a family member, took the corpse and never gave it back. For the next 60 years, McCurdy's body was passed around like a stage prop. Carnivals, wax museums, even a haunted house. Layers of paint and neglect made him look like plastic. By 1976, no one remembered he was human until someone broke his arm and saw bone. A museum ticket stub was still jammed in his mouth. Police traced the corpse back and confirmed it was McCurdy. He was finally buried in 1977. In life, he robbed trains. In death, he toured with the Circus. And somehow, the second act lasted longer. All right, guys, now let's head over to number 4, the Enigma. Paul Lawrence built his entire career on transformation. Starting in 1992, he began covering his entire body in puzzle piece tattoos, now inked by over 200 artists. He added horn implants, reshaped his ears, and modified his body to match the act. He performed worldwide with the Jim Rose Circus, sharing stages with 9-Inch Nails, Korn, Marilyn Manson, and even opening for David Bowie. He swallowed swords, eaten fire, and played music with acts like Pigface. His television appearances include The X-Files, Penn and Teller, Bullshit, and Ripley's Believe It or Not. At one point, he ran a tattoo shop called Tattooija. He also co-founded the freak show Show Devils and toured with fellow performer Katzen, his ex-wife, and the first artist to tattoo him. The Enigma holds a Guinness World Record for tattoo coverage, but he's more than ink. He turned his body into a living exhibit, equal parts musician, performer, and human puzzle. Number 3, Grace McDaniels. Grace was known to circus crowds as the mule-faced woman, but behind the stage banner was a quiet woman who endured more than anyone watching her ever would. Born in Iowa in 1888, Grace had a severe facial deformity, most likely Sturge-Weber syndrome. She spent her early life trying to hide it, covering her face with makeup and veils. But after winning a contest titled The Ugliest Woman in 1935, she joined Harry Lewiston's Sideshow. She made $175 a week, performed at the Chicago World's Fair, and toured the US and Canada. Despite the cruel billing, she was known as kind, gentle, and deeply private. She gave birth to a son, Elmer, who later managed her act, but also caused problems due to gambling and substance abuse. Grace refused many photo sessions and often covered her ears when announced on stage. She died in 1958, at 69. She never asked for pity, just the right to live and work on her own terms. Number 2, Gary Turner. Gary's Stretch. Turner holds the Guinness World Record for the stretchiest skin in the world, a result of an extreme form of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Born in Caister, England, Turner gained global attention in 1999 when he stretched the skin on his stomach over 6 inches on live TV in Los Angeles. The condition makes his connective tissue unusually loose and elastic, allowing him to pull and twist his skin in ways that defy belief. He's performed with Britain's Circus of Horrors and the Royal Family of Strange People, appearing on Ripley's Believe It or Not, and various international TV specials. His skin can stretch like rubber, but it's not a party trick. It's a rare medical condition turned into a career. He also appeared in the short film He Took His Skin Off for Me, and still tours as a sideshow performer. Unlike many acts built on illusion, Gary Turner's body doesn't fake anything. It just doesn't follow the rules. All right, let's end this with number 1, the two-headed Mexican. Pasquale Pinon never had 2 heads, but that didn't stop the circus from saying he did. He was a railroad worker in Texas with a large tumor growing from his scalp. A promoter saw the lump and saw dollar signs. They made a wax face, stuck it over the tumor, and called him the two-headed Mexican. It looked fake, but no one cared. Crowds stared, whispered, and paid to see it. Pinon didn't speak. He just sat there while people gawked at his second head with fake eyes and lips. The tumor was real. The twin was not. But the lie worked. There's an actual condition, craniopagus parasiticus, where a parasitic twin grows from the skull. Pignon didn't have that. His condition was exploited anyway. In the end, his sideshow act blurred the line between deformity and invention. He didn't fake it. The circus did. But for the audience, truth never mattered. They just wanted strange. And he delivered. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you very soon.